Welcome to Mild Takes with Matthews. I'm Matthews, and today is going to be my first mild take. Today we're going to discuss the Roland Emmerich film 2012, which, of course, was released in 2009. I'm not going to nitpick this or any other film on this channel. I'm just going to give it a quick once-over, point out some silly things, and then tell you what I think about it. Spoilers ahead for an 11-year-old film. 2012 is basically your run-of-the-mill apocalypse movie. Lots of destruction of notable landmarks, forgettable characters, some neat special effects. See also Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow, Godzilla 98. So let's get into the mild takes. Again, spoilers ahead. Number 1. So, in the film, they have these ships for the few survivors of Earth to ride out the storm and eventually repopulate the Earth. They go through a lot of detail to say the people chosen for the arcs were selected for optimal genetic variety. More on that later. So why the hell, with cargo space at a premium, did they bring live animals on the ships? I get it. Roland Emmerich is all about spectacle and visual, and he was going for a Noah's Ark thing. 2 of every animal. But bring embryos, for crying out loud. They show the Chinese military airlifting a friggin' giraffe, and it's never explicitly stated how long they expect to stay on the arcs, but I think it's a while. So they need to have exotic animal experts on board to watch over, feed, and care for all the animals we see on the arcs. Just seems silly. Number 2. How come the builders of the arcs don't get a free pass on one of the arcs? I mean, I get it that one of the ships was made up of only super rich folks to pay for the entire project, but once the workers realize what they're doing, aren't they gonna freak out and tell the media or try to stow away on the ship? Oh, well, both of those things happen in the movie, so why not just say all the workers also get a spot on the ship, but you gotta keep it quiet or you lose your ticket. Maybe let them have a +1 so the wife can come along. I mean, you need skilled labor on the ships, right? You're telling me that the guy who installed all the toilets didn't ask any questions about what they were building? And what happens when one of those toilets breaks on the ship? Bet you wish you kept that guy around, huh? I mean, you're gonna need those people when you eventually reach dry land, right? So why not contract out all the skilled labor and take blood samples so they can be included in the genetic variety thing they have going on? Makes sense. Number 3. We've got a classic Raiders of the Lost Ark scenario here where the main character doesn't affect the outcome of the film in any way. He just tries to survive, kind of stumbles on the details of the arcs. If he wasn't in the movie, all of the events of the film would have still happened exactly the same. This doesn't make it a bad film, just something to point out. I don't know. Number 4. Over sentimentality. So at the end, Oliver Platt takes over as acting president after Danny Glover decides to stay behind. And he becomes the film's antagonist, I guess, by being kind of a dick. He puts himself in charge when no one else will, but someone has to be making the calls, right? I mean, the main scientist guy complains about how big his stateroom is, saying he could fit 15 people in it, and demands they open the doors to the Ark and let all the workers inside. And that's nice and good, but what about the other 99.99% of the world that just got left to fend for themselves? I mean, scientist guy had no problem with his stateroom when he's canoodling with Tandy Newton the whole trip. It's the end of the world here, people. It's time to make some tough choices. Danny Glover's the president, and when he gives up his seat to Chiwetel Ejiofor, he says the world needs a young scientist more than an old politician. And that's a nice thought. And we like the scientist guy, and we want him to live. But as we later find out, turns out the world does need an old politician. Having that guy around would have been really helpful during the inevitable power struggle between the nations on the boats. I mean, who was originally supposed to be in charge? Is it the captain of each ship? The individual governments? This guy? Who's in charge here? Hello? Where's the cruise director? Whose idea was this? You brought all these people here but had no plan of leadership or structure once everyone's aboard? It just goes right to power struggle. It's every man for himself. How about after you find dry land? What was your plan then? I'd like to think that if the world governments can come together to secretly build giant boats to ensure the survival of the human race, they'd have all these details figured out already. Who goes on what ship? who's in charge when you're on board, here's the plan when we get to land, and so on. I get it, they were rushed, didn't have time to finish the arcs and stuff, but it seems like an important part of the plan to leave out. I mean, most of these people are scientists. You'd think they, above everyone else, would have a needs of the many outlook. I mean, in the film, we see thousands, maybe millions of people die on camera. We're kind of desensitized by the end. So, what's another few thousand left on the docks? At no point was anyone saying, we only have enough food for X number of people. If we let them in now, we all starve, especially because we have to feed the damn giraffes. But I guess it makes for an emotional scene when they finally let him on board. Gotta have that human element. Finally, number 5, the secondary characters. The Russian pilot, the Ark captain, the ex-wife's new husband, because you have to have that dynamic in this movie. These guys are the ones responsible for actually moving the plot along and are the most level-headed guys we meet in the film. Of course, they all die for no reason, and we're supposed to forget about them and focus on John Cusack. R.I.P. Gordon and Sasha. In closing, is 2012 a good film? Not really. Are the things mentioned earlier pointless nitpicking? Probably. If you haven't already seen it, don't bother. But if you like soft sci-fi and lots of global destruction, you might like it. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next mild take.